Next up is our keynote presentation. The next speaker is Mr. Nick Wiggins, who will be discussing how mobile is revolutionizing the global advertising industry. Nick is the head of advertising at Huawei, where he is leading the company's global advertising business. He oversees strategy, sales, and operations, and has had more than 20 years of media experience, with the last 10 years dedicated to mobile advertising. Nick sits on the global board of the MMA, the Mobile Marketing Association, and uses his extensive global experience to help Huawei accelerate their position as a leader in the mobile advertising industry. Prior to joining Huawei, Nick was at Ericsson for 3 years, where he was globally responsible for advertising, strategy, and partnerships. Ladies and gentlemen, let us welcome our keynote speaker for this morning, Mr. Nick Wiggins.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be here today. Today, I'd like to talk about how mobile is revolutionizing the global advertising industry. First of all, it's important to understand why advertisers care about mobile advertising. And I'll go through and remind us all about how long it's taken to get to this point today. I think it's worth reminding ourselves of that. Also, what we'll look at over the course of the next 20 minutes is some of the challenges and some of the secrets to success for mobile advertising. Then we'll look at some global trends that I've seen over the course of the last 10 years. And finally, we'll wrap up with some guidelines about how to make mobile a success for your business. So why do advertisers care? Well, let's be honest, there are big numbers out there right now. The IDC forecasts that on a global basis, mobile advertising will grow from $6 billion in 2011 to $28 billion in 2016. Those are big numbers. And if you take the UK as an example, more than £500 million has already been spent this year on mobile advertising. We're seeing significant growth. And if you talk to some of the analysts like eMarketer, they're projecting rapid growth in particular regions like North America and Europe. Significantly for us, we're seeing consistent and steady growth in this region. If we take China, for example, we have more than 1 billion mobile subscribers in that particular market. 38% of mobile web users access the internet only through their mobile device. And the numbers for mobile search are truly phenomenal. It's really massive. It's a key driver. Importantly for advertisers, mobile delivers. Over 57% of the L'Oreal target audience spend more than 1 hour per day on the mobile internet. These figures are taken from the China market. And we've got stats and insight that indicate what they're doing. And what are they doing? They're sharing. They're engaging with Weibo, Weixin, different searching and browsing experiences on their mobile device. So just hold that thought. They're sharing content on their mobile device. We're going to come back to that a bit later on. But before that, I want to take a step back and remind ourselves how we got to where we are today. It's taken time. I think it's fair to say that the internet boom and bust experience in the 90s had a negative impact on the mobile industry growth in the early days. There are a few people in this industry who've been around longer than me, but I'm pleased to see that Kieran Burke from Mobext is in the audience today, and you'll hear from him in the next panel session. And I think he'll agree the fact that the internet boom and bust experience at the end of the 90s had a real negative impact on the growth of mobile in the early part of this century. Also, I think the industry associations have to take responsibility for the slow amount of investment that took place in the early days around the building blocks for mobile. Fortunately, now we have those building blocks in place. We've got good metrics, we've got good targeting, we've got good reporting criteria. So all these building blocks are in place, and we can now take off. There was a recent study done by IBM interviewing over 4,000 global CMOs. And here's a snapshot of some of the results. Basically, what this slide is saying is that global CMOs are generally unprepared for the explosion of data, the massive growth of channels in this fragmented digital marketplace we're in today. How many global CMOs can really claim to have a strong social media strategy in place? This is the reality of where we are today. And this is one of the challenges that mobile as an ad channel has to overcome to break through onto the radar of the marketing director. Also, we need to recognize mobile's inherent features. The user profiles of mobile users have historically been difficult to grasp. Today, with advances in technology, we've got a much better understanding of who is using their mobile device when and where. We also have to recognize and communicate to marketeers about the different type of behavior that users have with their mobile devices. The snacking type of behavior. I've already touched on the issue of measurement and fragmented media. But importantly, there are a wide variety of platforms. I'm not just talking about operating systems on mobile devices. I'm talking about the tools that advertisers and agencies use to buy mobile advertising. We need to see some consistency in this space. At the moment, there's a wide variety, and this is another reason, I believe, why mobile has been slow to take off. But right here, right now, I believe we're at a tipping point. The mobile revolution is in place. We have better targeting, better metrics, better reporting. Industry associations can congratulate themselves. We have those standards in place. But also, encouragingly, I believe that agencies have grown up. They've started to invest. The agency groups have invested in better technology and better tools, so they can serve your interests better. There's no excuses now for not allocating your media spend into the mobile domain. But the secret to success, I think, is to keep it simple. We know we're in a fragmented marketplace. There are many channels, many different platforms, many different ways of getting your brand into the palm of the consumer's hand. But importantly, you need to keep it simple. Let's get back to basics. Let's make it easier for marketeers to buy mobile advertising than to buy TV advertising. I think over the course of the next 2 days, we're going to see a lot of presentations, and hopefully we're going to hear a lot more about mobile search, mobile display, and I'm interested to find out what people have to say about QR codes. So I'm not going to touch on those points. But what I will touch on briefly in my opening presentation is SMS and MMS. These are great ubiquitous channels on the mobile device, which I believe are underutilized. I'll also touch on a little bit about video and apps. First of all, SMS. A recent survey in the USA indicated that most SMS are read within 4 to 15 minutes. 65% of mobile users like receiving offers on mobile phones. And 3/4 of smartphone users would prefer to receive offers via SMS. Just think about that. The vast array of rich media channels on a smartphone device, and they prefer to receive an offer by SMS. A little look at a project that we've been working with solely on, and this is really looking at Coca-Cola. And it's a good example, I believe, of how this big brand have utilized SMS. What they've effectively done is they've empowered the retail outlets, more than 30,000 shops in Mexico, and said, look, create a relationship with your shoppers. They provide them the marketing material. The shoppers go into the retail outlet and they opt in to receive alerts from their individual shop. That's creating a relationship with the brand in a specific location. Added to that, there's various on-pack, opt-in mechanics that the brand has been using. And I think this is a good example of how SMS has been used to create a strong, localized brand relationship. MMS, this is a real success factor and a key channel that Huawei has been involved in developing the technology for. We started our business on the back of this in the advertising space about 4 years ago, working with our partner in China, China Mobile. And essentially, the mobile newspaper business is a way of reaching 580 million mobile users through a picture messaging mechanic. Very much embraced by the automobile industry. Volvo, back in 2011, spent more than 20 million RMB on 10 campaigns, reaching over 60 million mobile subscribers, launching a variety of different types of car product. Very much a well-used and simple mechanic for communicating a brand message to consumers in the palm of their hand. I'm going to take a step back now, literally as well as figuratively, but to just think about what mobile means to advertisers. And I think one of the most important things is that it really brings to advertisers this issue of connectivity and sharing. It's very important for advertisers now to be immediate and instant and create a sharing mechanic of content. And the mobile device is a fantastic tool in order to do that. I think we've got a little video here. Cut off that video in the middle there. It goes on too long, but I think the point has been made that rich media content sharing, such as video, is a trend that will grow and grow. We're going to see more video content digested via mobile devices as the devices become more advanced, and we also get better broadband and download experience. So if you haven't got a social media strategy for mobile, you need one soon. We work with companies like this, Unruly Media, to monitor the most successful types of video download in these charts that we can see on the screen. You probably recognize some of these campaigns from the Philippines, where you get, McDonald's, Coca-Cola, Nestle, all in the top 5 video content downloads. It's an important thing to be aware of when you're a brand considering your marketing strategy. With regards apps, a friend of mine at Mindshare in China often talks to his customers and his clients by saying that having an app is not a mobile strategy, but certainly a mobile strategy often has an app element because it's an interesting way of providing the consumer with a way to engage with a brand experience. I'm going to draw your attention to WhatsApp, which is in the top 3 app downloads in 4 out of 5 of the countries that you can see on the screen there. And I'd like to draw your attention to the word simple. It's an application that aggregates a variety of different messaging channels in a simple way. It provides users with a simple way of communicating with their network, their peers, their friends, their families. So it's an app solution that is delivering connectivity. I think we need to recognize that. If we look at the Twitter equivalent in China, Sina Weibo, this is really sort of capitalizing on that connectivity and creating an environment where users can share information that's personal to them with their network and their community. So it's about sharing relevant content. And I'll draw your attention to Weixin, or WeChat, which is a new entrant in the China Twitter environment by a competitor. And it's really created a storm in China recently. It's connectivity, but more ways of sharing. It's not just one-to-many, it's one-to-one communication. And we're seeing many, many brands jumping on board that experience because in today's marketing environment, brands need to utilize these channels to create a one-to-one relationship with brands. So I think in the future, we're going to see more and more ways that content can create an environment for consumers, and that's where brands need to be, building those relationships. So to re-emphasize the point, I believe content must be relevant. We all know that, but there's different ways of getting your brand in that experience. You need to be aware of how content is being shared, and you need to be aware of what type of content, what type of platforms people are using to share those experiences. It's all about the content. But don't just believe me. Look at some of the big brands' content strategies. I've taken a snapshot here of the content strategy of Coca-Cola. Their strategy is all based around developing contagious experiences. And going further than that, they recognize that these experiences are driven by an on-demand culture. Notice the handheld device. This is the way that the consumer can interact with content anytime, any place, anywhere. On demand. So I would argue that this mobile revolution, is here today, and it has to be a consideration for brands. It has to be a consideration for brands to engage because we have a device that is connected. It enables consumers to share content. If the content is relevant, it can create timely, instant, location-specific brand experiences. So how do we go about delivering that? Well, we just follow this value chain. Just go from left to right across the screen, pick a few partners, and you can make mobile happen. Okay, it's a bit confusing at the moment. We're an emerging industry. But the basics really are about getting your brand message into the right content. It's a simple value chain. You, the brand, need to develop a relationship with a partner that can help get you into that content. And I would argue that today, after a long time, we finally have the right targeting tools, we have the right metrics, and we have the right reporting standards in place. So there's no real excuse for the agencies that spend your money to demonstrate ROI in the mobile environment. Let's not forget, the consumer is always moving. So we need to have advanced technology and advanced tools to be able to monitor that consumer movement on a minute-by-minute, day-by-day, location-by-location platform. So I'm coming to the end of the presentation now, but I just want to re-emphasize the point. I think there are some key media buying requirements for mobile. And for each ad channel, I believe that you as a brand, you need to understand the user profile information, you need impact measurement criteria, you need return on investment definition, targeting, metrics, reporting. Also, I believe that the people that you empower to buy that ad space, they need tools that can make it easy to plan, buy, book, and report. And I believe that they're going to do that by using the right kind of ad buying platform. And I also think that they're going to employ and use tools that can simplify that buying process. Things like media kits, rate cards. Let's get back to basics in mobile. So this is my final slide. I'd like to tell you that the mobile revolution is here today. The numbers that we heard from our introducers, from Arthur at the beginning of the session, indicate that the spend is up in this region. You know, we have better targeting, we have better metrics, better reporting, better technology, better tools than ever before. But the way of getting this medium from a 1% medium to a 10% medium, like the internet did, is to keep it simple. We have to make it easier to buy mobile advertising than we currently buy TV advertising. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Nick, for the insights on how mobile is revolutionizing the global industry. Please remain on stage and take a seat.
Okay.
And we'll allow the members of our audience to ask you a few questions. So, members of the audience, please feel free to go to the nearest microphone. Introduce yourself before your question for Mr. Nick Wiggins. Okay, maybe I'll ask the first question, Nick. One of the key themes that you built into your presentation was that of simplicity, and you talked about the new media requirements that are needed to make all this happen. Who exactly will be doing all that?
I think in terms of simplicity, I mean, I come from Huawei, and we've got more than 140,000 engineers worldwide, and there is a sort of natural tendency to develop, the mind-blowing technology and platforms that provide targeting, utilizing data to the nth degree. But I really believe that ad spend in the mobile space will increase if we can just manage the basics, package them up well, and present them well. I think that we as an industry need to recognize that advertisers and marketeers, marketing directors in particular, want to have a sort of simple overview, a high-level perspective of what works best. I think they believe and they know that mobile is right, but at the moment it's still too difficult to buy that ad space. So I think that as an industry, we need to present them with a simplified list of options and a simplified way of buying that space.
Okay. Anyone from the audience with a question for Nick? The question is about SMS and MMS and whether players tend to overlook the power of SMS and MMS. Is that right?
Yeah, that's right. The simple answer is yes, Kieran. At the end of the day, there are many different channels in the mobile space, and I think we all get carried away by the next piece of technology. Personally, I'm excited about augmented reality. And we've all heard about QR codes and different voucher solutions, but the reality is that SMS is still a very highly used channel, and it's unparalleled in terms of its ability to deliver reach. And I think what we experience is that particularly FMCG brands really recognize the appeal of that channel in emerging markets where the penetration of smartphones is less prevalent. So I think it's a little bit horses for courses, but yeah, I do believe that SMS and MMS are undervalued, and I think we get carried away with the next piece of technology. You know, marketeers have got different communication objectives. You know, if they want high impact, high engagement, then think about an iPhone, think about an app. But if your communication objectives are based on reach and perhaps brand building, you know, SMS, I believe, has to be a consideration.
And do you think that geolocation and SMS then, will actually enhance, bring it back again into the market quite strongly?
I think there are factors that will help improve the appeal of SMS. Yeah, I think location is certainly a factor that can improve the value.
Thank you.
Nick, you talked about your experience in China, and in various. You gave quite a number of different examples from around the world. But can we talk about Africa, and what lessons can you share with us about SMS and MMS maybe in Africa?
Yeah, thanks. So we're rolling out an ad platform with one of the largest mobile operators in Africa at the moment. So I've got some personal experience of spending time in places like Ghana and sub-Saharan Africa. And the reality is that our launch brands are the likes of Coca-Cola and Unilever. These are brands that really want to embrace SMS. And we've gone to market with our operator partner with a portfolio of advertising channels, including SMS. So that's display. It's also MMS. We also have USSD. But the channel that is creating the most appeal amongst established brands in that region is SMS, because it does what it says on the tin.
Thank you. Let's go back to the constraints that you see facing the further growth of mobile advertising. Is one of the issues that I often read about is really the limitation of a small screen size on your mobile phone. Is that still an issue?
I don't believe so. I mean, I come from the media buying agency world, but I think that the creative agencies and the creative execution, depends on the skill of the marketeer at the end of the day. I mean, 160 characters is a space where you can be very creative with your brand message, and I think there are many different ways of creating a hook, utilizing SMS. And let's not forget that SMS is most effectively used in most cases by adding an extra layer of value to an existing broadcast media campaign.
Okay, thanks for the response, Nick. Is there anyone? Oh, we have a question.
Hey, Nick. Great to have you here in the Philippines. I was just wondering, in general, like what role in that ecosystem, and I think your presentation was fantastic, does Huawei play? Is it on the platform side? Is it on the agency side? Like if you could just, kind of elaborate on the place in the ecosystem there.
Yeah, thank you very much. So traditionally, obviously, Huawei, we have a network infrastructure and managed services heritage working with network operators. In the mobile advertising space, we take the technology enabler role. We provide that platform to publishers such as network operators to enable them to package up their advertising space and take it to market. But also, interestingly, a feature of Huawei is the fact that we have our own handset device that we are rolling out as well. So that creates unique inventory, which gives us greater learning opportunity in terms of how to package advertising content within the handset. For example, we're learning all the time about how different operating skins on top of devices can improve the user experience in that space. And I think our traditional customers, the operators, can benefit from that learning.
Thanks.
Thank you.
We have 5 more minutes for a question. Oh, there's a hand raised there. Can we get a microphone, please?
Is there a disruption possible with mobile with respect to the value chain between the brand, the agency, and the content? Is it possible to kind of bypass the agency
The simple answer is yes, of course. But
Is it wise to do that?
well, I think that there's different roles to play, and at the end of the day, the brand is the guardian of the relationship with the consumer, and I think that in my experience, the brand, focuses attention on what type of strategy needs to be achieved, and then in most cases, it seems to be that the brand will appoint a partner that takes full responsibility for achieving those objectives, and to sort of disassociate those two requirements is important. I think what you will find in the sort of long tail of smaller advertisers, that advertisers will buy that space themselves, but particularly blue chip brands see a benefit in working with a larger agency group that can provide economies of scale and economies of buying power.
Any more questions? We have just a few more minutes. Maybe we can take 2 or 3 more questions from the audience. Nick, I have a question again. Let's talk about mobile commerce. Are there any early experiences, based on your years in Huawei, about what's going to happen next? I hear about all the graphics and the video capabilities of that are now capable on tablets, and that promise to be change the relationship between a shopper and a merchant. Anything that we can learn, any insights you can share with us on that space?
Well, mobile commerce is emerging, and I think one of the powerful attributes of mobile is the ability to use that device to make a buying decision. You can go beyond the click on display banner advertising through to an actual purchase decision on your device. And I think in reality, we're in the early stage of that at the moment. I think we're seeing good examples of how that works with the likes of sort of Amazon and eBay and equivalents globally. And as they get their mobile experience more up to speed, then I think we're going to see a lot more mobile commerce taking place. Yeah.
Okay, we have a question at the back there. Please introduce yourself.
Yes, I'm Frank Schroep with People for You. I have a question regarding value. What do you feel has better value for advertising? Would it be, especially in the emerging markets, would it be through SMS, or actually would it be through advertising on mobile applications?
It very much depends on the communication objective and the market. The example I was giving of Africa is that SMS seems to be a very significant channel that advertisers want to consider, whereas in a more developed market, maybe sort of Western Europe, applications are very much high on the agenda and radar of marketeers, and it seems more relevant to marketeers to consider apps when the penetration of smartphones is more significant.
A follow-up then, say with Asia, which is kind of an in-between market, versus Africa being the lower end, Western U.S. or Western Europe being the high end. What would you consider Asia in general, like as far as if we were to focus our money, would it be better on SMS or applications?
Yeah, I'm not going to be drawn on making a statement about which is the preferred channel in Asia, because it's too general, to be honest. But I think coming back to a point I made earlier, every brand needs a mobile strategy, and that's your starting point. I think apps and SMS and MMS and different mobile ad channels should be considered when that mobile strategy is developed. And we can see that mobile is very much a mature channel. The rate of involvement and using mobile devices to consume content is very high in markets like the Philippines and Indonesia and China. And it very much depends on the communication objectives of the brand at the end of the day.
Okay, before we wrap up, with Mr. Nick Wiggins, Nick, would you care to make any concluding statements or any bold predictions for what we can expect in the coming year?
Well, I really believe that we're at a tipping point. because we do have better metrics, we do have better targeting, we do have better reporting. So I think the excuses for the industry not to invest in mobile have gone. I think pressure should be put on agencies to buy mobile more effectively because they have the tools. They might need to decide which tools they use, but at the end of the day, they have the ability and the strength and the expertise in order to make those strategic mobile purchase decisions. But my message to you, the audience here today, is keep it simple. I've been in this space a long time, and I think there's a tendency to overcomplicate the mobile space. So if you're going to take a mobile proposal to your marketing director or to your advertising manager, keep it simple. Package it up, and if you don't have the right information, go back to the supplier and ask them to put it all down on one page. Back to basics. Keep it simple.
Well, thank you very much, Nick, for the insights. Keeping it simple. We have a very exciting mobile future ahead of us, and the way to leverage that is really to not overcomplicate matters.
Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, let us give our keynote speaker, Mr. Nick Wiggins, a warm round of applause.